Welcome to How to Use CAD. My name is Tom Norris and today I'm going to teach you how to do a custom setup on TurboCAD so that you can make changes as you see fit to your workspace. As you can see, when TurboCAD first opens, it has various tool icons on show, which can be a bit daunting for newish or newbies using TurboCAD. Many of the tools you probably don't need. Depends on what you're doing and what you're trying to design, but basically the aim of the tutorial is to be able to learn how to customize and change this setup. It's not to tell you what tools work best, but to demonstrate how easy it is to remove and install tools to your workspace. Whilst there are millions of TurboCAD users worldwide, there are many different ways to use it. For example, I use TurboCAD for architectural design work, so I will set my workspace different to someone who designs furniture. To start with, you need to get comfortable with the Customise menu, and for that you may access via the Tools, Workspace, Customise. Now that's using the drop down menu system from the top. But before we use it, let me show you an even simpler way of doing the same thing. It's important to understand early on when using TurboCAD that there are usually more than one way of doing anything. Right, so if we use our mouse to hover over the right top right of TurboCAD and right click, see what happens. We have our Customise menu, so it's much simpler than using the 2 or 3 steps on the drop down menu from Tools. So remember, you can either drill down the Tools menu or take the simple route of right clicking the mouse when over the blank space of the workspace. My preferred option will always be the one that takes the least number of moves, so the winner is most certainly a right click to the top right. Looking at the Customise menu, that too can be a bit daunting, but you don't need to change everything at once or learn everything at once. If we select Options, what we get is the TurboCAD themes. This is where we can try out the different styles and themes for the program and make selections as we see fit. In my case, I started the lesson using the default theme, and I'm now going to change it to TurboCAD Classic, which is lighter and loved by millions. People hold on to it. I've got a version of TurboCAD which is 2012, it's one of the versions, and it's got the TurboCAD Classic, so as you can see it's been around for quite a while. By selecting TurboCAD Classic, the workspace changes immediately. All I have to do is close again, and now I've changed my TurboCAD setup from the darker mode to Classic. Now to make sure you remember how I made the change, let me quickly change the workspace back to the default theme. So it's right click, go to Options, Styles and Themes, Default, Close. There we go, back to the default theme. It's a good idea to do this back and forth a few times to make sure you remember how it is done. Okay, now that you know how to activate the Customise menu, let's have a look at some of the other options available. So within Options, we have the toolbar icon. Now the toolbar icons are these little pictures here, representations of the tools and what they do, so we can change the size of those, so that sometimes can be useful. So I'm going to move it up a notch, move it up a bit more. So depends, sometimes you need a lot of tools open, you don't really have the space, so you can reduce the icon size, which will allow you to have more space or more tools on show. And other times maybe you need glasses, maybe it's more difficult to work out what the tools are, so you can up them as you see fit. My preference is usually around 22, 16, 18, 20, 22. That's where we are. That's what I'm comfortable with. Now, lots of other bits and pieces which you can explore in your own time, but for setting up and just for changing the style and the work environment of the worksheet, then I think that I don't want to change anything else here. So now what I'm going to do is pick up another tab called Toolbars and explain those to you. Now, if we start with the first one, Inspector Bar here. Inspector bar is down on the bottom, so if you look at the inspector bar whilst I just knock it off, you can see it disappears. So basically these are groups of tools or toolbars that will kick in depending on what you click here. Now for me, I would be using line, so that you can see that's a very important one for me. As an architect or designer, line would be the most used tool. Another one would be modify. So we would want those tools readily available. So knock them off again. And if I look at menu bar, you can see nothing's happening here. Well, menu bar is basically the default. That's always going to be there. So if I knock everything else off, you're going to have some basic menu here at the top. If we look at what else is available, so left I've taken off, put it back on. Custom one, the custom one is just showing that little icon up here. And you turn that off. New modify. Well, new modify is over here on the right. You can see this is where you duplicate, this is where you explode. Very useful to have all the time. So by looking and checking out these groups, you can decide which ones you want to add to your workspace. So for example, to add a group, you don't want them just floating all over the screen, but you can put them wherever you want. You want to move it over here, you want to move it down there. So very simple to do. So don't be shy moving things around. So now I can take that out again. There you go. Property. Well, property is all about changing something, so making changes. So if we take this line up here, it's all about the color, the size, the the fill, and so forth and so on. So whatever it is you've clicked, that becomes live and ready to use. You want to change the properties within that object. That's how you do it. So that one we definitely keep because it's really, really useful. If we're going to pop up toolbars, well, people don't always know what pop up toolbars, but to demonstrate it, it's probably best I just close this for a moment. So let's assume I'm working here, I'm drawing bits and pieces, etc. Now, if I need my line tool, I can go over here, get it, and I can go over here and get it. But even more so, I can right click my mouse and I get it here. So that's even shorter journey. So theoretically, can close that. I don't even need it. I don't even need it there because I've got it in a pop-up toolbar. So pop-up toolbars is when you right click the mouse, you get whatever it is you want within that pop-up, and to arrange all that, you go back into the Customise and you go to the pop-up toolbars. And there you go. That's why I've got line and modify. So I put those line and modify tools in, and they will always be available on the right click, and very, very quick. So if you're wanting to get rid of the workspace, wanting to increase your workspace, get rid of some of this. This is not necessarily this toolbox. You can go like that. Let's just lose it and close. See, I can't close it, but I can close it over here because palettes. Palettes are, let me just knock off palettes. So you can see instantly, this is my tool palette. Basically all the standard tools that the designer would use. Another popular one would be the design director. And then you can have, let's assume you have bits and pieces here, yeah. So what you do is you go between the, doesn't work like that. When you want to go between the design director and tools, you just switch. So if you add another couple of palettes here, these little icons get smaller. So you basically, use whatever tab that suits at the time. But yeah, some people need palettes, others don't. And change it back up here, right click, go to palettes, and then decide what it is you want. Lock off, just leaving tools. Tool groups, that's a tool group here. So within this section, what you can do is you can add icons or remove icons to each individual tool groups, and of course you can create new tool groups. So it's it's as much customization as you need. Commands, you can create commands here, little shortcuts for tools that you use over and over. Keyboard, again, more shortcuts. Customize ribbon. You can see there's loads of stuff in there, but we're not going to go into that. But basically, to say that in your own time you can get to explore as you see fit. But to get up and running, the most important aspect of this tutorial is that you get familiar with the Customize options. And as I said to you, the Customize options can be done in the drill down up here from Tools, Workspace, Customize. There we go. Or you can take the simple route, which is right click on the workspace to the top right. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you practice getting in and out of Customize, and don't be frightened to change the tools around, remove the bits and pieces that are just redundant, and customize your work page as much as you want. Okay, that's it for now. See you in the next lesson. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.